Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another retro RPG. Because at the end of another week, the end of another poll, we've got a very good win for the best of the Star Wars Adventure Journal issues 1 to 4. Bit of a mouthful that. But anyway, we'll be looking at the desktop in a wee second. As usual, I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel related stuff and some other poll related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment talking about our patrons, who are wonderful, wonderful people who help support the channel. I'd like to thank them from the absolute bottom of my heart. Their efforts are so much appreciated. But I have to ask, if you'd like to help support the channel, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like to gain access to Patreon exclusive videos, or one of the other many levels of patronage we've got, if you check out the Patreon in the description down below, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's go on and have a look at the best of the Star Wars Adventure Journal, issues 1 to 4. So, this is the best of the Star Wars Adventure Journal, issues 1 to 4. Came out from West End Games for the Star Wars role-playing game in 1996. Now, probably best to talk about what the Star Wars Adventure Journal was. It was a periodical released by West End Games, which mainly featured stories, but some in-universe articles and stuff like that, but mainly stories from authors who were at that point writing what is now the Star Wars Legends, the expanded universe as it was at the time. And this one featuring works by Timothy Zahn and Kathy Tyers. Timothy Zahn probably being the more famous of those, because he wrote the Thrawn trilogy, creating the character of Grand Admiral Thrawn, who has gone on to be in live action. He's really taken off. But this was a bridge between the people who are writing these Star Wars Expanded Universe stories and the people who are writing the role-playing game. Now, the role-playing game had come out before the Expanded Universe had really become a thing. And I've told before the story of how the early authors were given by Lucasfilm copies of this role-playing game and the source books, so they knew what existed in the universe, what the differences between a Imperial 1 and Imperial 2 Star Destroyer was, what the name of the shuttle which took Darth Vader to the Death Star, you know, all of these things to be fleshed out and kept consistent. And it was the role-playing game that was provided to the authors. But this provided a bridge back where the authors were writing short stories, and within those short stories they were embedding stats and maps and stuff like that. So the Expanded Universe and the Star Wars role-playing game created a cohesive whole, which is far more than any other role-playing game has done. It was really the authors were feeding into the role-playing game were feeding into the authors, and then the Adventure Journal was creating this bridge where they were working on both at the same time. Some fantastic stuff. Anyway, let's have a look at the back cover. The best of the continuing Star Wars saga. For 2 years, Star Wars Adventure Journal has brought Star Wars fans new adventures and source material about their favourite science fiction universe. Now, the best articles from the journal's first year, all of which are out of print, are reprinted in this special collector's edition. This collection includes First Contact by Timothy Zahn, Tinian on Trial by Kathy Tyers, Final Exit by Patricia A. Jackson, A Glimmer of Hope by Charlene Newcomb, Rebel Privateers by Timothy O'Brien, A Free Trader's Guide to Sevakos by Anthony Russell, The Void Terror and Recon and Report by Peter Schweighofer, and The Spyro Regatta by Paul Sudlow. Best of the Star Wars Adventure Journal features special essays from the authors themselves, with insights on their inspirations, story origins, and views on the Star Wars phenomenon. And don't miss special section showing original colour artwork only seen in their initial journal articles in black and white, or by Chris Gossett, artist for Dark Horse Comics' Tales of the Jedi and Dark Lords of the Sith. Sit back, open up, and appreciate some of the outstanding articles which have opened up the Star Wars galaxy. And inside, the publishing is a slight step above what West End Games did, because we start off with these colour pages. So we've got the Admiral's Communique from Peter Schweighofer. A table of contents, lovely colour art up there. I believe that's repeated later. Inquisitor Cedris, I think that is. We've seen him in a number of Star Wars stuff in the past. And we've got an article here, featured artist Chris Gossett, because we're keeping on with the colour plates. So we've got the Great Inquisitor and his intimidating guards interrogate a prisoner. from the Pentastar alignment by Anthony Russo in Star Wars Adventure Journal 3. Hunking Intimal, one of thousands of his kind enslaved by the Pentastar alignment. Personalities running the Pentastar alignment include the imposing Grand Moff Ardus Kane, a very Star Wars name. Enemies for Life characters visited the high-tech city of Eknos, and Battle for the Life in a free-for-all armoured repulsor lift demolition derby. And a gang of bounty hunters ambushes the characters in Enemies for Life. The brooding character Alderic Brandel dominates the final exit, a tale of Dark Jedi which begins on page 97. So, first of all, we've got this, First Contact by Timothy Zahn. And it's a story involving Talon Card, the smuggler crime lord who Mara Jade Skywalker, or Mara Jade at that point, she later becomes Skywalker when she marries Luke, but she's hiding out after the fall of the Empire. And it's very, very accurate in its technology and all that, and as we come through, now quite a long short story it is, we've got stats, so the role-playing statistics for Talon Card, Quelev Tapper, and Selena Marnis, who is Mara Jade. It doesn't mention her force powers because she's hiding them at the time. What else we got? Gamgalon, a smuggler, Krish, a race, story factors, yep. We've got Varanat, a planet here, adventure ideas, Moradins, another race. Quite a lot of attribute dice they get. Massive strength, so they'd be as tough as Wookiees. Another adventure idea, and then we've got a comment by Timothy Zahn himself, talking about how he got into it, how he was hired. And we've got a large article, a Q&A, where he is asked about how he started writing Air for the Empire, where he got his ideas from. So a nice article. How did you choose the names of Leia and Han's twins, Jason and Jaina? And then we're into another article, Tinian on Trial. Again, it's a story. But this time, instead of waiting to the end, we've got maps of locations from throughout to inspire you. Some lovely West End game style art. I've always thought it looked a bit cartoony, but fits very much with the style of Star Wars. A complex there, including a large guard wall. Again, we continue through, and at the end, we've got the role-playing game statistics. So, different people who are within the story. Anything else? We've got the planet. Just many characters and an adventure idea in there. And then comment Kathy Tears about it, and an interview talking about the Truce at Bakura book she wrote, where she got the ideas from, about the characters within it. And then, rather than a story, we've got the Free Trader's Guide to Sevarkos. A data file, so it talks about the system. Going into detail, we've got different things like creatures which exist within that system, adventure ideas, a flash pistol with a blade on it, a Savari Wind Rider, a repulsor lift wind-powered craft, the Planetary Commandant, again more adventure ideas, talking through spice. We've got a large slave galley, maps of things, Lord Quintus of the Southern Deserts, doing business and costs, how they detect forged permits, upgraded TIE interceptors, and then again talking with the author, where they get their ideas from, what it is like to be working with Star Wars. Then we're on to the Spyro Regatta. Now, this is a fully fleshed out adventure. So we've got the adventure background, different stats with it, the adventure script, which I've talked about many times before, loving, where it gets the players into it. You hand this out and you allocate them out which characters they're reading out for. And instead of the games master giving them a big briefing and just reading all this text to them, the players are revealing the information, what they know about the situation, what they've been told in the past. And stuff about the planets they'll be visiting. Nice cross-section. What else we got here? An arrogant noble, a rebel spy, stats for monsters that are going to face off, a touring vehicle, a customized wave skimmer, and the conclusion. And again, the author of it talking about it, where he got the gaming bug. He found my old blue box basic D&D set under the Christmas tree. Then we're on to A Glimmer of Hope, which is again a story. And it starts off very quickly with the main character, and we've got a big detailed background of them here. Going through the planets they're visiting, the NPCs they're meeting, fleshing things out very, very well, providing you with a myriad of ideas for your adventures. And again, Librarian Who Was a Spy by Charlene Newcomb. Recon Report, The Journey to Coruscant. A very, very interesting article indeed, detailing what's happened on Coruscant after the fall of the Emperor. So, how it's gone from where it was at the very end of the movies to where it is in the New Republic era, when the novels were coming out, the Expanded Universe stuff. So it's going through different ideas, briefings from General Aaron Kraken, talking about the artists, again talking about Between Endor and Zahn by Peter Schweighofer, bridging the gap between Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire novels and the end of Return of the Jedi. The Final Exit, another story, and going through the format, it's giving stats for the characters. In this case, Thaddeus Ross, which was Harrison Ford's character in the latest Captain America movie, the one with Falcon. And I find that very weird that a actor famous for Star Wars played a character that's named the same as this. I'm guessing the character existed within the Marvel Universe for a long time, and they were inspired to use that name. We've got stats for a vessel, the droid that runs that vessel, more planets, as it details out the story. Aldrich Brandor. Again, these look very much like artwork of Inquisitor Cedrix, who is in a number of the Expanded Universe comics, and is in a bunch of adventures. Patricia A. Jackson, writing about how she's got into Star Wars. An article on Rebel Privateers. Be fairly useful for doing that. If you want to have your players working with the Rebellion, but not actually just as Rebel agents, they can be Rebel Privateers, attacking shipping and causing problems for the Empire while profiting for themselves. Got Privateer Corvette, talking about different types of corporate targets there, light privateer frigates, templates, so if you want to play a privateer character, captain, or a pirate, or an outlaw tech. Timothy O'Brien talking about pirates. And then we've got, from Peter Schweighofer, The Void Terror. Details your character, and then it's a choose-your-own adventure. Now, if your roll is 15 or higher, go to 7. If it's 14 or less, go to 12. It's fairly short. About 50 sections? 58 sections. And at the end, we've got blank pages and the back cover. So, a whole load of ideas in there, really expanding out the universe. And great if you just want to read a story that inspires you. You've got all the stats, you've got the equipment, the vessels, the planets, the monsters from within those stories that you can then use in your own adventures. A really interesting way of doing things. Not my favourite way, because I don't want to read everything when I'm looking for a monster, but definitely great if you want to read these stories and see whether you get inspiration from them. So, that was the best of the Star Wars Adventure Journal, issues 1 to 4. And that won the poll with a very confident 35% of the vote, with everything else kind of clustered together behind it. Because in second place on 23% was Road Warriors for Deadlands Hell on Earth. Behind that on 21% was Dimension Book 4 Scrapers for Rifts. And behind that was on 20% was Spycraft from Aldrak Entertainment Group, a D20 based game. But alas, none of those won, they will be going into future polls. As usual, they're all cleared out, and we're going over to a Retro Adventures poll. So, first up, this time we've got Under a Blood Red Moon for Werewolf the Apocalypse and Vampire the Masquerade. Came out from White Wolf Publishing in 1993. Now, this is an adventure where werewolves and vampires end up getting in a turf war, basically. It's a fantastic adventure. Me and my friends played through it as werewolves, and we had a load of fun. So it'll be fascinating to look through. I hope it does pretty well. After that, we've got the Medallion Agent for Millennium's End from Chameleon Eclectic in 1997. Now, as I've said many times before, Millennium's End is a kind of forgotten about game, but it was so well done. Absolutely genius game, really, really well supported by one of the stars of role-playing, Charles Ryan. Alas, it never wins in these polls, but it'd be lovely to look through one of these adventures which are on my shelves for it. Great, great stuff. After that, we've got Denial of Destiny for the Star Trek role-playing game from Faza in 1983. Now, the Star Trek adventures, we've covered a few of them in the past. They've always been great fun, so it'd be wonderful to look through them. And finally, we've got Vulture Warriors of Dimension X for Paranoia from West End Games in 1990. Now, I've covered some of the adventures from this campaign, where the players end up going as troubleshooters from Paranoia into other game settings, Cyberpunk, Twilight 2000, etc. But this is the core book which starts it off, so it'd be great to have a look through it and see how this campaign gets started. But anyway, it's in your hands now. You choose which one you want to see. What else have I been up to? Well, over on rpggamer.org, I am finishing off the Legacy period before moving on to the sequel Legacy series, which follows some different characters many hundred years after the movies. Now, this is all Legends now, but it'll be interesting to see how some of the characters continue over, even though the main characters will never be seen again. And, of course, this is now Legends, so it's not really part of the main timeline. But it's fascinating to see where the expanded universe went with it. But anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.